Welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are talking about Rebel Ridge from director Jeremy Saulnier. We are big fans of Jeremy Saulnier around here and have been waiting for this movie for a while, and it did not disappoint. This movie is awesome. It's on Netflix right now. Go watch it. We are going to talk about it with Jason Harris from Awesome Movie Year. He had called this one a while ago, and so now he is here to talk about it. We're going to get into that in a moment. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together, wherever it is that you're listening right now. You could also follow us on social media at Piecing Pod, and don't forget to join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. Also, if you're in Las Vegas, and if you happen to be listening to this the day that it goes up, Friday, September 13th, we've got a live show going on tonight, Speak No Evil at Downtown Cinemas with Shahab Sargari, Sam Novak, and Francis Rose Padunin. Going to be a great show, 6 p.m. tonight. Obviously, with podcasting, I mean, you might be listening to this 3 years from now, but I got to get the word out. Tonight, September 13th, it's a Friday, Downtown Cinemas, Speak No Evil. I really hope to see you there. So, with that said, let's get into Rebel Ridge. All right, Jason Harris is back with us. We're going to talk about Rebel Ridge. How's it going, Jason?
Dave, it's good. I'm here. I'm ready to fight all types of small town corruption using skills that these dirty cops didn't even know I had.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of good things to say about you, Jason, but one thing is that you are against police corruption. So,
yeah. And really, if that's the only good thing you have to say about me, that's pretty good.
Yeah, you're off to a good start for sure.
I'll take it.
We're all Jeremy Saulnier fans around here, correct?
We are. You know, we covered Saulnier on Awesome Movie Year for Murder Party for our 2007 season. And, you know, that kind of got me into him. I mean, I had known about his movies, but I hadn't really watched Saulnier films. And obviously, I've seen them all at this point in time. And the only one I really didn't like was the one right before this. So it's nice that he's Hold the Dark. I didn't think was very good.
Yeah.
But everything else, man, back on it. So let's get it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Hold the Dark was my one kind of disappointment. And I feel like I owe that movie another chance because I was kind of in the mindset of like, Netflix original, come on, you know? And I'm in that same mindset right now with Rebel Ridge, but Rebel Ridge is so damn good that it punched its way through that mentality, and I had a great time.
I wasn't like that at all. I was like, oh, cool, this guy did Blue Ruin and Green Room. Let's watch Hold the Dark, right? And it just doesn't, it's just a miss. So I think you could rewatch it, but I don't think it'll change your opinion. But you know, he's still at a really good track record, so I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we're going to get into some puzzle pieces here. I just want to kind of throw you on the spot, though. You watch Reacher, right?
Jack Reacher?
Yeah.
Or the TV show Reacher?
The show Reacher.
No, Dave, I don't watch it.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, all right. So I thought that you had been a big fan of Reacher, so I was going to kind of put you on the spot to make that your first puzzle piece, but I guess I don't have a Reacher expert on the show today because it seems like everybody's making that comparison. Have you been seeing that too?
No, I mean, look, I know we're going to get into a lot of comparisons of like military guy with special skills like goes and fights small town corruption, or someone who they don't expect to fight the bureaucracy of cops is able to fight the bureaucracy of cops. In fact, they reference it in the film, right? So, but I love that stuff. I'm actually writing a script in that form right now, in that genre that I've told you about and you were a fan of.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? Then let's start getting into it. What is your first puzzle piece?
Well, I just want to say now I want to watch Reacher. So
you should. You definitely should.
Well, I'll give you the one they reference, and I'll also give you another one. So, the one they reference in the film is Serpico, Al Pacino, fighting dirty cops as a cop, and they have a code name for their one police informant that is Serpico. So,
sure.
Why don't I stick with, because I know we're going to get into so many, cops, like I said, people fighting cops and stuff like that. Let's go a little outside of the box and go with like a source with a nickname that is kind of hidden and I'll take All the President's Men about Watergate and Deep Throat and all of that stuff. And I mean, this is also, look, not only happened in real life, but this is a common trope in films where they have like someone on the inside who's willing to help fight corruption. Although really it seems like over the last, basically since 2016, no one really cares about that anymore.
Well, there's just too much at this point. Like how can you fight at this point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're just like, yeah. Well, no, we didn't do that, but we have the proof that you did. Nah, we didn't do that. Okay. Well, we'll put a meme up and half the idiots in the world will believe it then.
I was trying to think of one where there's some almost like a little behind the scenes police lesson within the movie where you're like kind of learning about some concept within police force. And so I guess, using those as entry points here, that kind of fits the bill for that a little bit. So good pieces to kick us off with. I'll start obvious, might as well, and go First Blood for my first piece here. I mean, I feel like that is the most obvious one with, an ex-soldier showing up in a small town, has to deal with these shitty cops. He's living in the woods until he can get, on his way. And in a lot of ways, it feels like a modern day update to Rambo, but it is its own original story, which makes it all the better. And Aaron Pierre is a force here as Terry. He's just incredible.
He's really good. I don't know Aaron Pierre before this movie. What did you know of him?
I know him from one thing, which I was a big fan of, so I'm so happy to see him have an actual breakout role. He was the rapper mid-sized sedan in Old, the M. Night Shyamalan film.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so
yeah, no, he's good. He definitely carries the film. And I mean, although can we just say probably Don Johnson's best work in the last 10 years or so?
He's incredible.
Yeah, it's really fun
so
to
good.
watch him. So.
And he's been on kind of like a slow but steady comeback train, right?
An underground role, we'll say. Like he's always good, but this was a real great showcase for him. And that character, small town Southern sheriff, could have easily been let's just say, Smokey from Smokey and the Bandit, right? And look, that's not a knock on the Jackie Gleason Buford character because that's iconic and wonderful and makes sense for that tone. Yeah. This tone is just a little different, right? But Dave, so I agree with you, and I'll go with my next puzzle piece. By the way, like if they did reboot Rambo or something, he would be a great Rambo, and I think that's probably going to happen, right? Maybe like Rambo's, the John Rambo character is training like a new special ops Rambo or something, right?
Sure, I'd watch it.
But you actually cued me in. I had this written down as a puzzle piece based off of something that I saw in the movie that you had just mentioned. The idea of living in the woods as an ex-soldier brought me to Deborah Granick's great film Leave No Trace, which is a very different type of movie and probably an underrated movie of the last 5 years. And I'll tell you a funny story about that, Dave. I might have told it before. I took, we were at the South Point, me and some other comedians before the Dirty at 12:30. And my friend Tabloid, who's a 50-year-old fabulous black woman, we went with a few comedians to see Leave No Trace. And, the opening scene is basically Ben Foster in the woods. And, he's whatever, making breakfast or hunting or packing up the camp with his daughter, right? And Tabloid turns to me 5 minutes in and says, "Oh, this is a white people movie."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what she thinks of Rebel Ridge.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get her on the show sometime.
Well, they did a good job of, kind of, we have the Chinese restaurant, which is an interesting, maybe not as explored as it could have been, right? Like, because how
it was great coloring though, like little brush strokes. I really love that whole enterprise of that's where he kind of, we don't know much about it, but we know that he works with them. He does something under the table, like. It's interesting.
I know. I think we probably could have learned more about them, especially with the fact that like he calls up and he's like, "Hey, I need 10 grand and I need it sent here," and they just have no problem sending it to him. So what has he done for them? What is that relationship? So like, I'm not harping on something that's negative because I did like this movie, but that you could say could have used some fleshing out.
Yeah, that seems like an element from, we talked about Reacher, which neither of us have seen, but it seems like something where this would have been an adaptation of a book that there's like 16 books of, and that gets explored in one of the other books or something. But I'm going to take it to Payback, the Mel Gibson Porter story. Which, speaking of Rambo, I mean, hell, let's make Aaron Pierre Porter while we're at it, putting him in these existing roles. But he has such like a coolness to him and everything. He's always 10 steps ahead of everybody, and he's smarter than everyone, but he doesn't kind of overplay it at any point. But more importantly, he just wants what's his. He just wants his $36,000, and really he'd settle for just the $10,000, which is the bail money he needs for his cousin who's in jail. And that felt a lot like Porter, who just wants, I forget the exact number, it might have been 36,000. It was something about that, like, 5 figures like that.
I thought it was his jacket. Didn't they mess with his jacket?
I think that's in one of the other Porter movies.
I thought that was Payback.
No, Payback, it's like $20,000 or something. It's some small amount of money, but yeah.
Yeah, right. So. And Payback's great. I like that. It's a good, look, this is a genre. I think this is one of the reasons you and I both were like, let's do this episode together. We love this genre and everything. So, let me flip it, right? Because this is about, you would say, small town corrupt cops, and there's definitely an element of racism against the Aaron Pierre character, and so much so that one of the cops or good old boys yells a racial slur at him, and the only minority cop is like, that man's a veteran, leave him alone, right? So I thought like, well, in a way, I'm not going to say it's the same, but it's almost the reverse of Black Klansman, right? The black cop going undercover, right, and dealing with the Ku Klux Klan, the power system of that town, and kind of finding out ways of destroying or kind of messing them up. So I thought that was a different version of this, and like I said, we're going to get to so many. Cops fighting corruption or fighting corrupt cops. Like, I wanted to kind of flip it a little.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. It's also an interesting character, another good performance in this film. And I'm a movie guy, and if this was a TV show, a new Jeremy Saulnier TV show, even with his name, I probably wouldn't have watched it just because I never make time for TV. But I feel like a TV show would have probably, like bottle episode, like a whole thing about just her and her story, how she ended up there, working, double sides and all.
Oh, the female cop, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
because there's also the other character who works at the courthouse, Summer McBride, and everything. But yeah, I would have watched it if it was a TV show. It's Saulnier. We know he's directed some True Detective here and there, and but you're right. This thing could translate over, and I think they've done. Obviously a billion TV shows like this. I don't know if they ever made a Walking Tall TV show, but so that's all good. Is it your turn, Dave?
It is my turn, Jason. I will take over. I'm going to go with Terminator 2 because of his complete insistence on not actually killing anybody, which there's obviously a very good reason for it, because if he kills one single person, he's done for. He's going to jail forever. But still, I mean, he does everything strategically to make sure no one dies. They just simply get hurt. And it's really clever and great to see. And it reminded me of Arnold and Terminator 2.
And in fact, I wanted more of the murder and the violence. Like, we get
well, we have those movies,
right? So. But we get a huge Act 3 and a really tense standoff in the middle of Act 2. But like, I definitely was like, this guy has that special set of skills that we like, let's see him put it to use more. Again, like, I wanted another big action sequence, but that's fine. Also, Dave, unrelated, but related to Terminator 2, I don't know, I might say this on stage. Who knows if it's funny, but I was thinking, like, because I'm reading The Last Action Heroes right now, this great book by Nick Semelander, about the 80s action stars, same guy who wrote Wild and Crazy Guys, about the 80s comedy stars. There's all this stuff about Stallone and Schwarzenegger, not just right place, right time, but like how they were able to monetize catchphrases in the 80s, like all the stuff and like good catchphrases, I'll be back, or get to the chopper or whatever. And I was just thinking, like, if it would be terrible if like Schwarzenegger was coming up today, because like the only reason we would know him is like he'd be on TikTok and he'd be like, everybody hack tour on it. It'd just be the worst, So.
Everything is terrible now. It really is. That's great.
Just
that would be
garbage, Dave. Let's go. What do you got next? Let's go to the first corrupt cop movie I have on my list, and I have a few, but I feel like Hot Fuzz is a really good one here.
Okay.
because that Act 3 in Hot Fuzz is amazing, right? Like total bonkers, balls to the wall shootout. And this is a very tense, bonkers, balls to the wall situation that delivers. And in a way, I kind of think mirrors that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You also, I mean, you basically find out everybody in town, at least everybody within the legal system, is in on all of this
Right.
corruption, except for AnnaSophia Robb, the summer character. She's like the only good person. So yeah, it definitely kind of has that greater good, small town evilness kind of thing
Yeah, you
going
got to
on
keep
there.
quiet because this is the only thing that's working for the town type thing.
Absolutely. I will go. This kind of goes back to the Terminator 2 thing, but I'm going to go to the Equalizer with Denzel Washington. Just how like cool and collected and ahead of everybody else that this guy is, and he never breaks a sweat in every single sequence. He's just always knows exactly what to do at every moment, and that just brought me back to just how cool Denzel is in the three Equalizer
Well,
movies.
I mean, that's what he does. He takes things that are unequal and he
Yes,
equalizes them.
that's actually that's a very good point. That's what he
Right.
does.
So, like the before Denzel would have the equal sign with the diagonal line through it, and
Uh-huh.
after Denzel it would just be an equal sign right there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The Z in Denzel strikes through the equal sign, and then it
I
comes
mean,
out.
I'll just
Uh,
go build on that. If we're going to build on Denzel, you got to put Training Day in there for the corrupt cop,
sure.
and not just the corrupt cop, but like the king of the fiefdom, right? Like it's
Hmm.
interesting because this is like the classic Southern small town, and Training Day is Compton or Watts or wherever in Southern California, right? And it's like it's still like a totally different environment, the same power structure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That definitely has to go into there, and I think this movie does a lot of that really well. I mean, I think it's more interested in watching Aaron Pierre just break down everything and like figure his way out of the situation, but in the overall story, you're really getting lots of little bits and pieces of just how bad things could possibly be in a town like this, and it's really interesting to see as well as being entertaining. But I'll throw Walking Tall on the list to go along with First Blood. Similar story, obviously inspired by First Blood, but ends up having to take down the corruption again. Small town.
I know. I mean, I know like The Rock remade it, but like Saulnier is the director I want to remake the Southern Fried Justice movies, if you will, right? So,
Absolutely.
I mean, going along with that, I'm not saying this is the same, but it's definitely an influence and a similar character, Dave, that you're talking to, who keeps his cool the whole time in the heat of the night, right? You have that
Hmm.
whole Southern corruption and that the black a man who is obviously not treated fairly and everything, and that type of Poitiers coolness definitely rubs off here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I only have one more for my list here, but I kind of just had really my thought was just to kind of wrap it up by throwing together a few of the things that have come up on the show many times before. So, do you have any others before we get into
I
that?
do, but let's hear yours.
I mean, it's the grand list. It's the nobody. It's the accountant. It's
Yep.
the history of violence. Maybe even a little Gran Torino throw in there, although reversed because that is a racist guy, and this is against the racist guys. But still throw that on the list as well. But all of these like mild mannered, soft spoken people who once shit goes down, they are absolutely 100% ready.
Yeah, and we love that genre, you and I. So I'm all for that. And all of those fit. So let me go to some one more cop movie, and then I'll go to some weirder pieces. When you think of corrupt cops, Dave, and fighting the system, officer, I gave you a chance to be a cop, and you blew it. Copland, Dave, going right to
Yes.
Copland.
I was thinking about that one, but I haven't seen it since it first opened in the theaters, so I barely remember it. But good, I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad you did the
How
impression.
could you
So
not at that point in
yeah,
time? A
yeah.
couple of others, Dave, that I'll throw out there. Breaking Bad is in there for me,
I
right?
was thinking about that too. Yeah,
Especially
yeah.
because they hotshot the Summer McBride character with drugs, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
reminded me of the season with Kristen Ritter, where she ODs, and instead of helping her, Walter White just helps her die. So
Yeah,
spoiler
sure.
alert, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was also thinking with Better Call Saul because I was trying to think of a good piece for this, but I couldn't think of one. So I guess that would kind of fit the bill. But where there's like the tougher guy who is the force, and then the person working behind the scenes with the paperwork to try to, together take down everything. And so, that would, of course, here be Aaron Pierre and AnnaSophia Robb, and it would be, Saul and Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul.
I mean, that's really a good example for the accountant also, I'd say.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dave, let me deep cut you now. I'm going to mention a movie I don't think you've ever heard of called Brotherhood of Death from 1976. I watched it the other day. I was really excited for it. And honestly, if they were like, hey, name a movie you want to remake, Brotherhood of Death would be near the top of it. It's about these 4 black guys in the South who get caught up in, fighting, with cops or whoever, and they end up going to Vietnam, right? And then they end up in this unit where like they're special fighters, and their commander is teaching them like all these tricks that like this is what the Viet Cong does to get us. He calls him Charlie, of course, right? Like, so they have this trick and that trick, right? And then the soldiers come back and they're still dealing with the same BS in the small town. So now they're like, well, the cops are involved, the clan's involved, we're going to just get them all, right? And they use some of the tricks they learned, some of the other stuff. And it's really like, first of all, the coolest title like that you can imagine, right? And second, it just sounds amazing. It just doesn't deliver on that promise. Like it should have been way more violent. And but Jeremy Saulnier or Spike Lee, the Five Bloods, which also you could put on here, would have been
I think so.
Would have been a great remake director of Brotherhood of Death.
That would be pretty awesome. I was just thinking about the big reveal of where this guy is from. He's from the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, the MICMAP.
MICMAP, yeah.
Yeah, and just that whole reveal, that whole sequence, how good that is when they're like trying to figure out, they're trying to get the internet back on. They had to reset the router. Any of us with a podcast understands the resetting the router bit in this movie. So,
all right, good enough.
So, any others that you wanted to add to the list before we wrap it up?
I think that's it. I mean, look, it's a good movie. You loved it. I liked it a lot. I'd say on the Saulnier canon, I have it as third. Green Room's my favorite. Blue Ruin, which just is the closest one to, is my second favorite, and then I put this right after Blue Ruin.
I have the exact same order, but it's an enthusiastic number 3. So I love this.
Yeah, movie. No, it's good. I'm glad it's there, and I mean, it's there's a lot of people I know I saw in the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces is like, why can't this be in the theater? And I feel like this movie could have done well in the theater.
I think so too. We're recording this on Beetlejuice weekend, which made 75% of the box office this weekend of all. I mean,
that's kind of sad.
It's terrible,
and that's also people. I didn't see it yet, but I know a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like general audiences are enjoying it, but still, no movie should have that big of a cut of the box office. We need movies like this in the theaters, but that's Netflix for you. So anyway, I'll read down our list of puzzle pieces real quick, and then we'll get into some more closing thoughts. We talked about Serpico, All the President's Men, First Blood, Leave No Trace, Payback, Black Klansman, Terminator 2, Hot Fuzz, The Equalizer, Training Day, Walking Tall, In the Heat of the Night, Nobody, Gran Torino, The Accountant, A History of Violence, Copland, Breaking Bad, Brotherhood of Death, The Five Bloods. I think, I mean, we knew going into this, we're going to get into a lot of these kinds of small town fighting corruption type action movies. These aren't like, it's funny because you said that like we love these movies, and I do, but I feel like my puzzle piece list was a little short because a lot of these movies are one and done for me. And it's like, there's probably dozens of these that I've watched in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s that I just barely remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a huge 70s genre too.
Sure.
And it's always a great setup, right? Because it's one person versus the entire town, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So, that's always a good setup. I wanted, like I said, I thought it was cool, like all the stuff that they're talking about, less lethal force and everything. But I'm like, give me that lethal force,
Yeah.
murder some of these people.
Yeah, well, it's all about de-escalation. That's the thing. But
Right.
yeah, I get what you wanted, and I am sure we will get to see Aaron Pierre kill some people soon. So hopefully. But yeah, that does it for this movie. Jason, is there another movie you watched recently you want to recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I'll just say it, and it's an old movie from the 70s that I just recommended to you as a piece to watch in regards to a film that we're going to cover from the same director and talk about one man fighting a whole town with maybe the greatest violent act 3 that's ever been put on film. I rewatched Straw Dogs, the Sam Peckinpah movie, and 5 stars. Just, I love it so much. Watch Straw Dogs if you've never seen it before.
Fantastic. Great pick. And yeah, I watched it yesterday, and it's wild. That's for sure. So
that was a mainstream movie, dude.
Yeah, the world was so different. Absolutely. Jason, tell people where they can find you, your comedy, awesome movie, or everything else you're up to.
Jason Harris Comedy, or J Harris Comedy on all the socials. Over at Awesome Movie Year, we're in 1969, so there's a Peckinpah movie there. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but let's just say there's a bunch of wild people doing things in there. So we're at awesomemovieyear.com, Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and Instagram, Awesome Movie Pod on Small Town Corruption, the platform. And Eat This Comedy, we are rocking and rolling. We got a couple coming up in August and November, so be on the lookout for that. Come see a show. I will literally do comedy at your table, Dave. You will eat, and then I will walk up to your table and do a joke in your face.
I want that to happen. I really do. We're going to make this happen, Jason. I swear.
No, there's not a we. It's you. You're a lazy bitch, okay? You can come out to a show whenever you want.
I feel like you're about to take me down, one of those tactical things, but
yeah, like it. Maybe I'll just get one of those stun guns and just tase you.
Liam, don't embarrass yourself.
As if you could do anything useful.
You're going to fail. Give up before you're found.
Don't even bother trying. You know you aren't competent.
Not in the way, Liam.
Liam, trust me. You could save lives.
That's more important than whatever you're trying to make this about.
You can do this, Liam. You're in the right place.
We can do this. We can do this. I'm ready.
Valence is a serialized urban fantasy audio drama by Hug House Productions about magic, data privacy, queerness, found family, and revolution. Find more at valencepod.com. We hope to see you soon in New Candler. And remember, protect your magic.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Rebel Ridge. Thank you to Jason Harris for joining me on that one, and thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you are subscribed. There's a lot of episodes on the way. We got that live show tonight on Speak No Evil. That'll be up on the feed Monday, and lots more episodes on the way, so make sure you're subscribed. If you're enjoying the show, drop us a little 5-star rating and review wherever it is that you're listening. That would be very helpful. Also, I'd love to hear from you if you've got some puzzle pieces for the movie we just covered or for any other of the recent episodes. Get in touch. You can do it on social media at PiecingPod. We have the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group. There's also a contact form on my website, piecingpod.com. Also, you could comment directly on episodes on Good Pods or now on Spotify as well. So any of those methods, get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear your puzzle pieces. And maybe we'll get you on an episode sometime. Always looking for new people for the show. So one last thing I want to mention, we do have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I post bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, Awesome Movie Year, that's Jason's podcast, and from my music career. So lots of great stuff over there. It's patreon.com/bydavidrosen. I've had a busy month or so these last, it's like about 2 months, but I'm about to get some new bonus music up on the Patreon. There's always advanced episodes of Piecing It Together together, as well as some video versions of special episodes, and always a bonus episode from each season of Awesome Movie Year. So check it out. It's patreon.com/bydavidrosen. I appreciate you guys being out there listening, but if you want to support the show, you can also sign up over there. So let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And I am in the middle of a year of new music called the 24 for 2024 series, where I'm releasing a new single on the first and third Friday of every month. And I'm going to play a song from that. I'm actually going to play a song. This is weird. I haven't mentioned this yet, but one of the songs from the series, I am working on this awesome stop motion animated music video for, and I knew it wouldn't be even close to ready by the time it was originally scheduled to release this song in the 24 for 2024 series. And so I decided to push that song off to a 2025 release. And instead, I kind of scrambled. I had a bunch of other unreleased songs that were not quite finished. I finished one more song up, so it's almost like 25 for 2024 at this point. But one more extra song. I finished it up, cut that other song from the release schedule, which it will be out next year along with the music video, and finished this new song and got it up in its place. And it's actually, I believe, at the time of this recording, next week's song. So you're getting a little preview in advance of a brand new, just finished song that's coming out next week. It's called Losing Sleep Again. It's part of the 24 for 2024 series. Now it is, anyway. So I hope you enjoy it. Like I said, it'll be out next week, I'm pretty sure, at this moment. And we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.
No, that's your dog. Don't blame my dog. My dog's being chill.
Right.
It's your dead dog who's like, why won't you just let me ascend to the next plane? Why do you keep me alive? Dave's gone, everybody, so I'll keep you entertained. So the way Dave keeps that dog alive involves peanut butter and his nipples and things that you can't show on television, much less multiple parts of the internet. You really don't want to know about it, but I have to deal with it every week. Oh, I can't, we have to take a break even though we just started this podcast because Harvey needs num-nums off my nip-nips. So anyway, Dave's back, guys. I think we all learned a good lesson there.
I've got a treat to listen to later, don't I?
I was giving the audience entertainment with some fun facts about you.
Oh, good.